Ooh. Well, I'm gonna make an attempt, okay? Howdy do. Not as spirited as my usual, and I know I'm not quite there yet. But I am making an honest effort here, y'all. Hey, you're all gonna, some of you, my serious beer friends, are gonna wince here in a second, but I'm gonna have a Budweiser Black Crown. I have a perfectly good reason for that. It had just come out just before we left to go up there, so of course, I picked some up. To give it a try. I was going to do a review on it, or not a review, but a beer video. But now everybody's kind of played it to death, so there's really not a whole lot of point. But I have some, so I want to drink them here. And this is kind of a just getting back in the saddle video, so I'm not really talking much about the beer. This is more of a pub conversation. I'm kind of using you all as my virtual therapist, to be honest with you. It helps to talk a little bit sometimes, even about nothing, to nobody. Kind of amber-esque. I remember when this came out in the mixed pack. A friend brought it to an Ozark Growlers meeting, had all three of them there, and I remember it being the least favorite of the three for me. But I remember remarking at the time that I figured this was the one they were going to choose, just for that reason alone, because it was the most benign of the three. None of them were great. Maybe not terrible, but I figured this was the one they were going to go with because it's slightly different from Budweiser, gives them a little bit something different. It's a little more golden. But there's really nothing distinctive about it either, and then that's kind of Bud. That's kind of the macro thing. Is by golly, don't do anything that's going to be remotely original. I'm not sure if this is going to be a beer that hangs around or not. Somehow I kind of doubt it, but it may find a niche. Who knows? Especially at the 6%. Much like they're trying to find a niche with the Bud Light Platinum. Oh. I don't know what all's in this. I had finished a longboard lager a little bit earlier, and the longboard was much crisper, much cleaner. So I don't know what all adjuncts are in this, but I'm guessing there's some. I'd be incredibly surprised if it was an all malt bill by the way this thing kind of settles in your mouth. Hey, I'm also having about half a bottle of I get 99 cents. Black so it's kind of I guess I'm having my bargain night here. I'm drinking the Black Crown and some Red Stag. I had this. I was trying to think when I had this. Maybe half dozen years ago for the first time. I found it at a Lucas Liquor up in the Kansas City area. Again, I'm a kind of a liquor purist. I'm really not about the flavors. I remember thinking, that there's a time and place for something like this. I thought this might even be good in some coffee, giving coffee a little flavor. Do a different version of an Irish coffee with the black cherry bourbon, but but it's certainly not bad. I do. If you look, I do have one ice cube in there because I wanted it a little cold. I did have this little bottle in the freezer because I didn't want it cold. For me, the Coors like this are better very cold. This is, let's see, black cherry. It is 80 proof. Wow. It's Kentucky straight bourbon infused with natural flavor. So it's still kind of potent. So it's not one. Again, I poured about half the bottle in there. I'm not going absolutely nuts, though. Because my mental state is a little fragile. Even more than usual. It is. And sometimes a little bit of liquor helps, too much, not so much. So I try to keep myself balanced. Sometimes my mind gets crazy thinking, rethinking, and rethinking everything. It just makes myself crazy. Both the wife and I are trying to figure out a way to keep going, and it's very difficult. I'm looking at this glass here. This is a Michelob used to do these mix packs around the holidays. Used to pick them up at Sam's. They'd have different flavors. You know, this when they were doing, you know, sort of their versions of craft styles. This glass was actually from 2005, so it's been a while back. They were putting glasses in there. They also do recipe cards. It was a great idea. But, you know, 2005, there wasn't the craft selections in stores that there is now. I think those Michelob styles were first introduced in 97, and they had the Amber Bock. There was a Hefe, a Honey Lager. You know, they had a Pale Ale. Again, they got kind of criticized by a hardcore, you know, beer snobs. But the truth is, a lot of those beers were great gateway beers. They led folks to drinking better beer. So I'm not going to badmouth them in the least, because I think they certainly served their purpose. There's a lot of folks that never had a pale ale before they tried that Michelob Pale Ale, and kind of led them on to other things. So. I don't know about your neck of the woods, but out here, Amber Bock was sold in almost every bar in town. Not as much as it was, but at one time it was everywhere. But again, there's more selection than there is now. I think a lot of younger drinkers, you know, anybody under 30, thinks it's always been like this. You know, guys my age or even older remember when there was maybe one craft beer, or you know, maybe 2 or 3 imports, and maybe, you know, it's kind of gradually gotten bigger over the years. So I remember a time where the only, you know, sort of, we didn't even call them crafts at the time, but the only other than macro beer that I saw was Anchor, you know, and now you're starting to see, well, now you're not starting to see, but now you're seeing, you know, large quantities. I mean, where at one time you saw 1 or 2 beers, and then a 4-foot shelf, and then a 4-foot section. Now you're seeing entire aisles, and in some liquor stores you're seeing, you know, 2 or 3 great big aisles of craft selections. So it is kind of a whole different ball game than it used to be. Well, I tell you what, here's the truth. I'm not going to go into beer geek speak on you what this has or what it doesn't have, and I'm not going to really hammer it, because, again, as much as I don't like to use this phrase, it is what it is. I mean, it is a Budweiser product. It's supposed to be a little bit different than what they have, but the truth is it's supposed to be benign, and that's exactly what it is. It's not supposed to make you go, holy cow. That's not what they designed it to do, because if that's what they wanted, they'd have come up with something else. They were trying to make something a little more ABV than what their regular stuff is. You know, I think they were trying to give it some color, maybe doing something slightly different, but they weren't trying to swing for the fences. And it's kind of a shame, because I really would have given them some credit, even if they at least made an attempt to do something remotely different. This isn't a terrible beer. Will I buy it again? Honestly, probably not. Because there's nothing memorable about it, and at the price, you know, it runs about what you know, $11 12-pack, about $6 6-pack. I can find other beers I'd rather have, even if I was down to my last $6. I'm going to find something else. In many cases, I can find a Dundee 6-pack for $6, which is maybe not necessarily a craft either, but for my taste, it works better than something like this. But some people, you know, are going to buy this. This is basically for the bud drinker that wants a little more ABV. This isn't for the craft drinker. And I think that's what a lot of folks thought at first, that maybe they were trying to get in the craft market. They were obviously not. So there you go. That was the Budweiser Black Crown. I'm about to burp. Oh. Huh. It's a little bit of Red Stag. And I'm Tom the Beer Whisperer, trying desperately to find myself. So, hey, thanks for tuning in with me.